brought in? What was that? Tally up what Big Dig brought in. The decent number?
Biggest team.
Wow.
2 volunteers.
Nice. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Albany City Council, a work session meeting on Monday, May 20th at 2024 at 4 p.m. I now call the meeting to order. Allison, can we have a roll call, please?
Counselor Smith.
Here.
Counselor McGee.
Present.
Counselor Novak.
Here.
Counselor Newton.
Present.
Counselor Kopczynski.
Here.
Counselor Montague.
Here.
Mayor Johnson II.
Here.
Yeah, in person.
Allison, is there any business from the public? No one? Does anybody online or in chambers would like to speak to the council? Hearing none, thank you. Next on tonight's agenda, crime prevention through environmental design. Chris Schindel will be speaking to us this evening. It's information only.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
So I'm going to go over crime prevention through environmental design, which is a topic of vast information. So I'm going to try to narrow it down to kind of the focus areas of the founding ideas and kind of how it's expanded and used in cities around the world now. I wanted to focus it down just so it's not so convoluted and kind of what people could most swiftly deal with on top of everything. But at the end, I'll kind of go over the more holistic view of what CPTED is. So, because it should be embedded in your thinking when doing things throughout code and cities and strategic planning. So I'm gonna give a very small brief history just so you kind of know where it came from, because I think last time I was here, somebody had mentioned the broken window theory, and I just wanted to kind of how it all comes together. The term was coined in 1971 by C. Ray Jeffries, who was a criminologist. So it had its founding in criminology. His work focused on psychology and changing the school environment and how changing that environment would mentally change the outcomes afterwards. So kind of like this education process. 2 years later, an architect, Oscar Newman, had a book about defensible space, which took in Jeffrey's ideas, but focused more on like the physical form of housing and how that could change. But he didn't pair the two ideas together. So oftentimes when you hear crime prevention through environmental design, which was focused on C.J. Jeffrey's ideas, mental, the actual implementation is on Newman's idea, which is physical structure. So it's kind of weird how it worked out. In 1980, the situational crime prevention theory was developed in a point approach for offenders who committed crime and improving design and management of the environment around those people. And then in 1982 is when the broken window theory was presented and emphasized property maintenance to reduce crime. But it's still kind of a hit or miss when you look at statistically if that's true or not, because it has a lot more to do with, again, like buy-in from community members and all of that. It's not so much just if you fix this area up, everything's great and wonderful. There's a lot of things that go into that. In the 1990s, specifically 1994 to 2002, HUD implemented CPTED, revolving mainly around situational crime prevention. HUD did this by funding stakeholder training in public assisted housing. And in that study, they saw self-reported crime, Part 1 crimes reduced, depending on where the facility was, from anywhere from 17 to 76%, focusing on high crime, low income areas. And then since then, till today, it just kind of has continued to grow and embed ideas from all types of research and make it really kind of a whole picture. But again, I'm going to focus on the founding principles, just since that's something people could do pretty readily, easily at their home at little to no cost. And then we'll get back into that other stuff. So the founding principles of CEPTED are natural surveillance, territorial reinforcement, access control, and maintenance. Different communities embed them in a different way. In Albany, we don't really embed them much into our code. We have them in Albany Development Code Title 8 and Title 9. That's just for like yard maintenance and beautification. So you can limit the amount of trees that are required if you get the way that you're putting them into that development CEPTED certified. That's really the only location you see it embedded into our code. So natural surveillance. Natural surveillance is based on the premises that people looking to engage in criminal behaviors are less likely to do so when the possibility of being seen is higher. Now, again, this is a generalization. Obviously, some people will do it even if they know they're being seen. The principle is more associated with live surveillance, so people engaging in that activity, not mechanics engaging in that activity. So a video camera or a system such as that would be accompanying or complement to this, but the person on person is really what it's looking at. So what that looks like in practice is keeping vegetation cut. They have the 2-foot, 6-foot rule, so vegetation should be cut either 2 foot or lower or 6 foot or higher so that you could see the individual passing through or people feel like they're being seen. It also focuses on having access points in front of the building rather on the side or back so that if you see somebody going behind a building, you're more likely to have those cues trigger of like, what's that person up to? Most likely if you see something, you'll say something. So the second one, natural access control, talks about how people move within a space and how you direct the movement in the space and dividing spaces from public to private via barriers, be it bushes, fences, and the like. The principle is based on the fact that most people, when confronted with a boundary, will generally follow the way it guides their movement into a location. And the principle sets to limit control access to property and buildings, again, from public to private space. This is accompanied by dense shrubs, sometimes called hostile vegetation if you have thorny ones, or any items that funnel in a specific direction. These items can be paired. Again, they have pairings with mechanical operations, so they can be paired with alarms to kind of keep people away from areas. And oftentimes the shrubs, like I said, are talking about are knee high. It's just a barrier that's low, but still allows for a bunch of vision within. Territorial reinforcement. These are more of signs and just emphasizing the barrier. They have a thing called celebrated entrances. So kind of to make sure everyone knows what people are supposed to be doing on their property, you're supposed to celebrate those things. The principle of territorial reinforcement marries the previous two principles. Its goals are clearly marked transition to areas where people move from, again, public to private spaces. It creates greater awareness among people around the location where people should and should not be. And this could be accompanied in conjunction with the two previous principles by placing signage and other indicators that would notify people when somebody's using the space incorrectly. And then last, what I think is the most important is maintenance. And the reason I think it's the most important is because you could put all these theories into practice, but if you're not maintaining it, it's really only going to be good for a small blip of time. Maintenance is kind of the glue that holds on. So the 2 foot, 6 foot rule, placing lighting fixtures as their cycle runs out, replacing them, removing graffiti quickly and completely. As you see around the city, sometimes people will just paint over the graffiti in the way that it was tagged. So it's just the same thing, just a different color. So completely is the thing. And then kind of just an overall pride in ownership or, place where you live, taking that into account. So what this looks like in the real world. So the next 4 slides, I'll kind of show what it looks like. This first slide is an apartment complex, severely overgrown. So you don't see the backs of the front of the lot. There's no vision within, and lights can't get out. In addition, the second floor can't really see the street. So you have no vision coming in and you have no vision going out, providing that extra security. Like this is a simple and just yard maintenance issue that could be dealt with easily. And a lot of what we do in the city when we do property maintenance with vacant foreclosures and those alike is kind of what this falls into. Fencing, and this is like the guided pathways that I was talking about. So fencing, yes, it can be good, but also it could create ambush points, is what they call it. So at this apartment complex, the sidewalk just kind of abruptly ends, doesn't have direction to the front doors. And it also provides ambush points, right? You're just going after fences that have no vision behind. Addressing that, lining the sidewalk with shrubbery so people don't go off of it and then get to front doors from the actual walkway kind of just emphasizes when people are kind of sneaking behind buildings, all that kind of stuff. Again, just triggering that little voice in the back of your head that something's wrong. Lighting, which is the training for this is a 2-week training, and 2 days are spent on just lighting. So it's pretty important as far as how you draw eyes to your location. You go around a lot of this Albany, and we don't have a ton of lighting in areas, be it just the private property owner or the street lights. So lighting plays a huge role. Through SEPTED, issues at this site are leaving it dark. However, even with the lighting, you could see that if the way that they focus the lighting or shield the lighting creates an issue. So even if lighting is on a structure, if it's not properly shielded, it's going to blind the individual that's looking on, so you can't see face features. So correct lighting is also important. This would actually be incorrect lighting, but I just like the photos. So white lighting, soft lighting, hues, all play a different role. In the first 2 photos, I'm hoping you could see it on your laptop. There is a person under those lighting fixtures. However, like I talked about, it's not directed down with proper shielding, so it kind of just plays its role outwards, blinding you. It also doesn't help in identifying colors on clothing. So really, when you get a witness on that, it could be, completely off. Where properly directing it down will, again, lighten up the person and give that perception of being seen of somebody and help with identifying if activities do go wrong. So this is what SEPTED has evolved into. This is today's SEPTED. That's why I didn't want to go over all of it, because it's really kind of convoluted. Not convoluted, it's just you have to really be into it. So one of the big things on the community side of SEPTED is drawing positive users into a space. But so if we take the Riverfront project, not just saying that it's, we're going to bring all these people in, but actually providing legitimate support for the use of that space so that people continually use it, and also not timing that. So not having it, just during the AM, not having it just during the PM, but spacing out those events throughout the day so it's a constant, ongoing thing is important, and creating kind of like an image management of that area, that this is the place that people go. That's kind of like the center. When you go outside of that, you're starting to look at things like creating a community identity, or connecting just people that live in the community that may feel disconnected to it. The best way to explain that would be, though again, these aren't all wholly fixing ideas, is graffiti. There's a lot of research around murals and how that could reduce graffiti. When you look at that research, the highest percentage of success is when you engage the community wholly in what is going to be on that mural. You can't just slap a mural on a building and expect people to not tag on it. You have to get the buy-in from the community and have that mural actually have a meaning to the community, and that's when the actual reduction happens. So when you're developing kind of a space, you have to think about who lives in that space and who uses that space. So as you go around the city in different pockets, those individuals would be different people. So it's a constant evolution. You can't just kind of paste it in each section of the city. And then the outside circle is kind of how the crime is brought in. So is it a grocery store? Is it a vacant house? What are the attractors of the crime? Who generates it? And how do those generators like benefit or not benefit from it? And then engaging with those people to bring in some of those ideas. That's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, sorry. I didn't want to make it too convoluted. I wanted to focus on the things, so I figured you guys might have questions. So I wanted to kind of get back to that.
Council, do you have any questions? Councilor Smith?
Could you give us an example of a local business or a shopping area or a neighborhood where you have incorporated this in response to criminal activity?
There's been a couple. One was the old King Cone when they had this, I always forget the thrift store name. What is it? When that was there, we had a lot of people.
Albany Trash and Treasures.
Yes, Albany Trash and Treasures. When that was there, we had a lot of people breaking in, a lot of activity around there. We also had people sleeping along the riverway and just overall a lot of stuff there because it was appeared to be a vacant, abandoned structure, though it was owned by King Cone. That one wasn't so much bringing in lighting other than just addressing the actual blight in the area and taking it down. Another point we use this at was outside the city, but I ended up helping Lynn County as you pass Home Depot. There's a child care center there as you round about on Spicer. They were having a lot of people trespassing. They had a couple fires on their property, and they were just kind of wondering, like, how the heck do we keep these people out? They were coming in from the fields across from Walmart onto their property. That one, they had a lot of shrubs that were super high. They had no real barrier or like definition of their property, so you really didn't know when you entered the school property. So they brought that in, lighting. They also did put in cameras, and I told them to call me back if they had any other issues. And thus far, that's been, 3 or 4 years ago now. They were really having a huge uptick there.
Yes, I seem to recall several years ago also that the area around Regal Cinema, they trimmed all the trees down and so you'd have line of sight without having everything blocked.
That was a big one, especially where that dumpster was and behind Safeway, though I should not say it too loudly because planning will be mad. But their shrubs were super high as required through the planning code, and they were having people go on their property, go through the shrubs, break into cars, and then go back through the shrubs and exit onto 14th. And then through working with them, they cut them down so you pretty much waist high, not 2 feet, but waist high, and that pretty much dropped off for that area. We stopped having complaints in that area. I mean, it could go on, like even when placing dumpsters, right? So we have a screening requirement. Most people put a screening that goes from foot to head, right? SEPTED would say that you want to put in something that's either blocks or there's holes within, or like a foot where you could see actual people moving within the space and not just a pure block, so that yes, the trash cans are blocked, but if an individual's in there moving around, you still have the ability to see that happening. It's a lot of little things. And we've done that a lot by that particular with dumpsters we did at Family Tree Nursery. They were having a huge issue by that.
Okay, Councilor Montague.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for your presentation. It's, a lot of common sense stuff, but it's
Yes.
great for us to kind of keep that in mind as we hear from our, constituents if they're complaining about a problem in the area. It's good for us to keep that in mind to reach out to you if we hear of a problem that's happening in our neighborhood. So thank you.
And we do reports. Like if somebody calls us out to business or even homes, we'll go out and take photos, give them a report on what we talked about afterwards, so they don't have to. It's not going to be an instant thing, and they could continue to refer back to that and check in.
Yeah, and this is one of our strategic plan themes, Safe City, and also great neighborhoods. So it's good. I like it. All right, thank you. Any other
Okey-doke.
questions? Thank you very much, Council. Thanks, Chris.
No worries.
Next on tonight's agenda would be adjustments to system development codes and public works fees. Rob Edmonds on pages 3 through 5 on your packet.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me share my screen quickly. All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight, this agenda item is discussing public works fees and the annual inflationary adjustments. So this is something that we do every year. So it's shouldn't be shouldn't be new material for you. But I do want to say that the inflationary increase this year is just over 3%, 3.07%, and that we base that inflationary increase on the engineering news record construction cost index for Seattle, and that from April to April. And that's kind of industry standard for engineering. And there's two categories of fees we're going to take a look at very quickly. One is system development charges, and the other is utility connection charges and the post-construction stormwater quality fee. A little different this year. For system development charges, in the past, we've only included public works SDCs. This year, we're including kind of some interdepartmental cooperation. We're including parks SDCs as well. That way we hit council with one presentation instead of having to do a separate presentation just for parks. All SDCs, and they kind of mesh well together. So that's what is shown on this slide here. And this information is in your packet as well. But you can see the current fees for all of the system development charges. And again, what's new is the very bottom line, which includes parks. The middle row is the inflationary adjustment. And on the very right-hand side, there's the inflationary adjustment and the fifth phase-in step. Back in 2019, for Water and Wastewater, Council decided to phase in water and wastewater SDC. So this year would be the final phase-in step of that process. That's if council would like to do that. And we've been showing this slide for the last few years. It's just surrounding cities with the total SDC charges for a single-family residential dwelling. The middle column's the median family home. That's based off of Zillow's documentation. And then the very right-hand side compares the median home value to the SDCs. So Albany is right there no matter what we do, whether we just do an inflationary increase or whether we do the inflationary increase plus the phased adjustment. We're right there at about 4.25%, 4.3%. So. Again, in the very last slide, these are the various connection charges. You have the current fees shown there in the middle column and the inflationary adjustments there in the very right-hand side. So some, at 3%, they're not huge increases, but it is keeping pace with inflation. So, again, that's all information that was in the packet. Just wanted to go over that quickly.
Council, any questions, Council? Go ahead.
Are you asking us for direction?
Correct, yeah. So direction, if council wants to move forward, then we can come back to the June 12th city council meeting for a public hearing to adopt the fees.
So I don't see any reason for us not to do the final phase-in
Yeah, I was.
that was our plan, so
Yeah.
I think we can go ahead
Yeah,
and
we were
follow
on
that
I was
plan.
on- Yeah, I was on that plan that voted that in, so. Council, you guys are bringing it back on the Thursday,
June 12th?
June 12th? Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Could you do me a favor? These younger folks have better eyesight than I do. Can you make your colors better? Because they have light blue on white,
Yeah,
you know, and then somebody had gray text on light blue. It makes it hard to see. If you can fix, everyone needs to work on it, so do I. So if you can fix that, I appreciate
you're
it.
kind of a better contrast
Yeah.
between the text. Okay, yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5 on the next agenda item is adjustments to encroachment permit fees. Stacy Bell Castro, page 6 through 8 in your packet. Is she not here today?
It's here.
Oh, she is, okay.
Definitely not Stacy.
Changed your hair. Good to have you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Aaron Heemstra. I'm Public Works. I wanted to discuss encroachment permit fees, and there's also, you got a second memo today talking about building permit review fee as well for Public Works. So this is something that staff has been looking at for some time now, since encroachment permit fees haven't been updated since the mid-90s, and Public Works currently doesn't have a building permit review fee. Other departments have review fees, but Public Works does not have one. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with the encroachment permit fees that would like to discuss. So Public Works reviews encroachment permits for anything in the right-of-way that's not associated with the park's event permits. A lot of this has to do with construction or using the right-of-way for construction or blocking or barricading the public right-of-way. So we review all these permits. A lot of them, we review traffic control plans, but then we also do the inspection on all these permits. And the last time I saw, I think it was 1995, we had a update to the encroachment permit, which brought it up to $30. And there hasn't been an update since. You notice in the memo, there's a estimated cost for staff to be able to do these reviews and inspections, which was about $138,000 deficit versus the $8,000 we brought in revenue. So it's this budget deficit is kind of why we're looking at bringing this up, and we are proposing kind of doing like a menu sort of thing for, depending on what you're doing, there's variable fees so that it's kind of more direct based off staff time. So if you're working in the street, it's a little bit more than if you're not working in the street. Also included our franchise utility review fee. So historically, staff thought that our review fee was wrapped up into the franchise fee every year, but that goes into the general budget as opposed to going into Public Works. So we're including specific fee just for franchise utilities, just for that.
Would that be like trash, or what would that be?
That would be a lot of its franchise utilities, so Comcast,
Okay.
Ziply, Pacific Power, they submit to.
That's what I thought, thanks.
Yep. So for franchise utilities, we review all their traffic control plans and their permits whenever they do any work in the right-of-way. And then typically with them, we do a closeout inspection at the end. So currently, we don't have a fee specifically to them for their encroachment permits. In there I listed, I think there's 300 or so that we did in the last year.
Councilor Montague?
Have we looked at, will that be in violation with our agreements, or is that okay for us to be charging them a fee
All the agreements specifically say the franchise utility is supposed to obtain and pay for the proper permits.
Okay,
So
Great.
that's just one where we just haven't charged.
to bake that into the contract.
Yes, so it's already in there.
I guess
question.
this may be tangential to that then, so it's not it's not an additional fee that's being carved out of that 7% or whatever for the franchise fee. This is going to be, it's going to be taken out of, trying to figure out where the money is, how it's divided from the general fund versus going back into the department.
So this would be a fee that we would charge for review and inspection for franchise utilities, since the Chapter 3, I think, of the municipal code says they obtain and pay for permits.
So this is in addition to the.
This would be in
franchise.
addition to it, that they are actually obtaining and paying for their own permits.
Counselor Novak was first, then Counselor Smith.
Actually, I was first.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
It's okay. Quick question, is there a reason why it hasn't been updated? Is it just an oversight on you guys' part? Just a 1990? I just want to know.
Personally, I've been working on this for a couple of years on trying to figure it out, on looking up old ordinances, and it's just been understaffed, and it's just been taking time to kind of get to it.
Thank you, Counselor. Anything else? Good. Counselor Novak?
Thank you. The one issue I have with this is that the utilities turn right around and add another line item to your Comcast bill or your whatever bill, your water bill, your whatever the utility is. They turn right around and pass it on to the public. So in a sense, the public is going to be paying to help the city meet this funding gap. And I just want to point out once again that there are people in the public sector, or the private sector, excuse me, not the public sector, the private sector, who are stretched so thin and being hit with routine all the time inflationary increases. And I mean, I can understand why you want to do it, but I'm telling you, it's just going to be one more item on the bill that the private sector gets to pay, and they're already stretched thin enough to snap. I just want to bring that to people's attention.
Thank you. Counselor Smith?
Thank you. This fee for reviewing their permits would be a one-time fee, correct? It's not a monthly fee, it's not an
Correct,
annual
it's a one.
fee, it's one time when the permit is issued. Okay, and the other thing is that this is an attempt at cost recovery, at least partial cost recovery for the services we render to them to allow them to do business in Albany's public rights-of-way. It's
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
I read it. Counselor Montague?
Okay, well, first I want to just point out that the public's tax dollars are what is paying for the extra time that you guys are using to permit those. So either way, the public is paying for this. But question was the budget impact. I saw there was no real hard dollar figure on there. I know it's hard to calculate, how many permits are you going to get in a year, but do we have some sort of idea of how much cost recovery this change would kind of impact our budget?
That's why we kind of aimed at a phased approach for the encroachment permits, to kind of do phase one, implement the new style or new menu and then reevaluate and see how close the gap is getting
Okay,
closer.
thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Go ahead, Counselor Newton.
I noticed, just want to make sure, I'm sure this is just a typo. I noticed it says there's going to be a public hearing on June 14th for this. It's the 12th, though, correct? Okay. In the
Oh, the typo, yeah.
the typo, it says June 14th. Just make sure that everyone knows it's June 12th.
It also says 2023.
It does. It does say
It says
2023.
We've already been there and done that.
Yeah, we're time traveling. So we would like to bring them back on the 12th with the public hearing. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys on the 12th.
Did you want me to move forward with on the page 3, there's 3 phases. Do you want me to move forward with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3?
I think that'd be easier for everyone.
I also
Phase
have another
1?
Go ahead,
question.
Counselor Smith.
Another question about the permit review fees. I noticed that Kaiser doesn't charge anything. Do you know why?
They have a huge packet, and they might have it wrapped up into something else. A lot of them, kind of group stuff together.
Okay.
Kind of like we're kind of moving towards like combo permits. So they kind of have some of those things wrapped up together.
Thanks, that makes sense.
Okay, we'll see you on the 12th. Thank you very much.
I did have a second memo as well.
Oh, you have a second memo? Oh, that's the other one, MC.
Yes,
The
this is the
additional.
one, the additional one.
And I already have a question. Go ahead, I'll let you get to it.
Okay, so this is looking for direction on Public Works doing a building permit review fee. Like I stated, Public Works currently doesn't have a review fee. And we review building permits for compliance with impacts to public infrastructure, such as a commercial project, utility connections. And then we also review the permits for assessment of connection fees, system development charges, if additional public works permits are needed. So that all gets wrapped up into that review. So since we don't currently have a fee, no revenue brought in, and during the last 2023 year, we had a staff cost of about $47,000. And that's just kind of based off the 2 staff we currently have reviewing these permits. So Public Works would like to implement a 10% review fee, kind of see how that closes the gap there as well. So the fee would be based off the base permit fee. And then they take that base permit fee and they add in the percentage for determining the review fee and the building review fee and then the planning review fee. Say you have a base fee of $710, 10% would be $71, and then the building review fee would be based off that $710 as well, so that we don't compound on top of the other departments.
I just have one question. There's no government buildings on here. They pay fees, right? The county, state? So on your table, on page, the table says building plan review fees comparison.
Oh, yeah, so that kind of had residential and then essentially everybody else, commercial, industrial.
That accounts all
Yeah.
government, okay. Just want to make sure I understood the table properly. Any of the councils have any question? Thank you. I'd like to see it come back. Would anybody else feel that same way? Thumbs up? We'll see you. Is this the 12th as well?
The 12th as well, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, discussion regarding planning division. David Martin is going to speak to us about item 6, discussion regarding planning division fee adjustments, page 9 in your packet. Oh, David.
I'll start when everybody gets a copy of this. Well, good evening, everyone. So what you just received is the most up-to-date proposed fees for the planning division. We rely on the CPI wage earners to adjust our fees year over year. And so the April 2024 figures were just released a couple of days ago, and the CPI rose 3.39%. So the proposed fee adjustments you can see on the right-hand margin are typed in red font. And also there's a couple of other fees or additions to fees that you'll see also in red font, both in the front side as well as on the back. We are looking at adding 2 additional fees that we haven't had so far. And one of those is a building permit land use inspection fee. And we could expect to have these in cases where there wasn't a land use application that was approved, but it could be, say, middle housing, and we'd have to have an on-site inspection to make sure setbacks are adhered to. Another one would be a code compliance investigation fee. And this is actually not something that we see a whole lot as far as code compliance cases in planning. They tend to be in other programs like building, for instance, but we don't have a fee right now. And so the idea of this is that for the people that use the service of code enforcement, that they help pay the fee to fund the program. And then finally, we are looking at having at least minimum $50 adjustments to processing fee for processing refunds. There is definitely an administrative cost that comes with processing refunds, and through now, we have not had a way to help recoup those costs, and so that's something that we'd like to propose to add as well. And we'd like to take this to the City Council on June 12th, if that's okay, and I can answer any questions you have.
Councilors, any questions?
Comment?
Councilor Kopsinski was first, and then Councilor Novak, and then Councilor Smith.
Just a hypothetical on the refund. So if somebody is requesting a refund due to something that's been wrong with the process to get them there, we're then going to charge them to refund their money?
No, this would be in cases where if they choose to withdraw their application before certain things, like notices go out or a staff report is
So the
prepared.
things have already been processed, and now they're
Yes.
saying back out of it. Okay.
Right, yeah,
Like a restocking fee, right?
yeah.
That's hard. Councilor Novak.
Thank you. I have a question up toward the top where it says appeal to city council type 3. What is that in reference to? If someone brings an appeal to us, they're already paying a certain amount and it goes up a little bit. Could you explain that one to me?
Sure.
Thank you.
So type 3 cases are cases that are generally heard by the Planning Commission. So they could be things like planned developments or conditional uses. And so if the Planning Commission is making a decision on that and somebody would like to appeal that decision, it comes to City Council. But that's what the type 3 is for. It just signifies that it's a quasi-judicial, either a PD or a conditional use.
So the person who's making the appeal is charged a fee of over $1,000 as it currently stands to appeal?
That's correct.
Wow. That could stop a lot of people in their tracks from even being able to appeal. That doesn't seem, I don't know how the rest of you feel about that, but it doesn't seem to me like it should be a financial burden to be heard by the people who serve your city. I don't know. It's news to me. Maybe it's common practice and I just don't know.
There's a lot of work involved in processing an appeal. Every bit as much work as there is involved in processing an application for the staff to hear, for the Planning Commission to hear. That is time and money. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to charge a fee for a service that needs to be done thoroughly. I know it's a large number, but it's a big issue.
It's just news to me. I had no idea that people who came to us to appeal a situation were being asked to pay over $1,000 to do that. I just had no idea.
How often are we hearing appeals? That's my question.
Very infrequently, actually.
Okay.
Appeals that come all the way to City Council. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Okay.
It's that rare.
Yeah, because I was inclined to agree with Councilor Novak, but seeing that they're a little infrequent.
Well, and typically the appeals
Is
are.
this number used to deter appeals? Because if I
That
saw
was
this
my
number,
question.
I wouldn't come and say a thing.
So typically, when we get an appeal, it's by the developer that's appealing. If they
Okay.
appeal conditions of approval or, well, the banks, I think, was a case where we had the apartments and the Planning Commission considered an appeal there. The applicant didn't like the result, so they ended up taking it to City Council. So these are very seldom appeals that come from citizens. They're more
Okay.
often from.
That makes me
So,
feel
okay,
better.
that feels better.
That makes me
Okay.
feel better.
So,
Thank you.
okay, yeah. I
And
agree.
another thing, to piggyback on that, the certain organizations or these developers, they'll say the planning says you need to make these changes before we'll approve it or consider it for approval. And they go, we don't agree with you. We'll go to City Council. Well, those volunteers have already done the work, brought it to staff, and now they want to appeal that. So I think it's fair.
And David, I think that's exactly what the Banks project, what happened on that appeal is there was some conditions of approval that they didn't agree with the conditions. So they wanted the council to say they didn't have to comply with those conditions. So, yeah.
We upheld the planning commission. So I think we should bring this back. Anybody have any questions anymore?
No more comments, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Please, Councilor Montague and Councilor McGee, you had something? No. Are you got any more? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Just comments. The building permit land use inspection fee is new, and you said that that applies to things that are not land use decisions, such as the townhome development on Gibson Hill.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing is the potential townhome development. The other thing was the code of compliance and investigation fee. Thank you very much for that.
I think that's great.
Long overdue. People have been putting in hours and hours and hours of work on that for years with, out of the goodness of their hearts and their department budgets. So thank you.
Well,
It's
the credit
time.
goes to our building official, actually. He's the one that suggested it, and I appreciated him doing that.
Well, thanks to Jonathan, I appreciate that. Good, we good? Council will have them bring it back on the 12th? Thank you.
Okay, thank you
So
very much.
all this is happening on the 12th? Who's not going to be here on the 12th? Yep. Item 7, discussion of proposed building electrical program fee updates. Jonathan Belkema.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
afternoon.
Jonathan Balkema, building official with the City of Albany. On the packet, page 10 through a lot, so I think we're on 33, I think it is some proposed fee adjustments. If you remember, last year we came before and made some major changes to the structure of how we did our fees. We also did a slight increase in certain areas. The electrical program had a significant increase because it had been a number of years since we've done that. We're here before you today to make a little bit more adjustments in the actual dollar amount, not any structural changes. As you know, that we have a collective bargaining agreement, and one of the things that we're facing, we're a heavy staff-oriented program. So we're having COLAs that will be kicking in this year and next year. And the CPI that David just talked about has kicked in, so we just want to make some minor adjustments. We're proposing a 5% increase that gets us closer to what we had talked about last year, which was our cost recovery for our hourly and our base fees. Still had not gotten to a point where it was a full cost recovery for the staff to go out to do an inspection or to issue the permit. So that gets us closer to the goal that we want to without having to continue to drain too much onto the reserve. So as my memo says, basically the intent of this is not to increase revenue. Obviously it's going to increase some revenue, but the intent is so we're not using our reserve just to meet COLAs that we are knowing that are coming into place this year and next year.
Comment for Councilor Smith and Councilor Novak.
This does not have any effect on property taxes or the general fund.
Correct. We are 100% funded out of our own program, except for we share revenue for permit tech with planning, and Public Works pays a little bit for a permit tech, so we do their counter services. But outside of that, none of our inspection staff is paid for out of general fund.
Thank you.
Councilor Novak.
Thank you. I have two things. First of all, how much did we increase last year on July 1st?
Last year's, it was a weird one to do last year's because we actually took, if I remember right, around a 7% reduction in commercial because we merged the structural and the residential tables together. So we knew we had to come down on one and then go up on the other to set ourselves up for this one. And I think we went up approximately 4 to 5% last year in the lower table, which is the one we used for the merge.
Up 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other part of this is you noted in your information that you provided that we have fewer and fewer projects, but ever increasing personnel costs. My question is, why not adjust your personnel costs to stay within your budget?
We actually have. We have 2 FTE that you guys were so graciously willing to fund in our fiscal year that we have not filled currently.
We funded them and you didn't, I'm sorry, say that again?
We're currently holding 2 FTE unfilled. They're funded, but unfilled because we're not seeing the projects right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other counselor have anything? So this is June 12th?
This will be another June 12th, yes,
Okay,
please.
I'm not going to be here either. So thank you. Can bring it back, please. Next on the agenda is discussion of amending of Albany Municipal Code 7.98. Jay Sharp is going to bring discussion to us. We got props, right? Oh, you the man.
How exciting.
You the man. Okay, we like that.
Nice.
Go to sleep, yeah. Keep going.
Okay, we're good.
We give direction.
Thanks for having me again, Mayor and councilors. Today, I'm here to discuss a tree code change, pages 26 through 33 in your packet. So right now, under the tree code, remove is defined by the felling or full removal of a tree. You cut the tree down. That's what the code defines remove as. But that means tree activities like this are still technically legal. This is a top tree. Once you remove the entire canopy of a tree or you remove a significant percentage of the canopy of a tree, it can significantly impact that tree's ability to stay alive, stay standing. I would say these two trees here on your screen are a hazard now. And if somebody turned in a application for removal of a protected tree that looked like this, if it had targets like houses, playgrounds, stuff like that, I'd have no choice but to issue that permit for removal. So also, here's another example here. This is some excavation around the root zone of a tree. When you remove all these roots in the root zone, that also can negatively impact the health of a tree. Right now, this is currently legal under the tree code. And I've seen this. I've had, people do this to their tree, and they come to me and be like, oh, it's a hazard. We got to remove it. And what am I going to do? You did something legal, but now I consider, as a professional arborist, consider this tree a hazard. So the proposed change is right here. I'm just going to read the whole thing out. Remove or removal means to cut down a tree or remove 40% or more of the crown, trunk, or root system of a tree, or to damage a tree so as to cause the tree to decline and die. The term removal includes but is not limited to topping, damage inflicted upon the root system by application of toxic substances, operation of equipment and vehicles, storage of materials, change of natural grade due to unapproved excavation or filling, or unapproved alteration of the natural physical conditions. The term removal does not include normal trimming or pruning of trees. So that's the first part. Do we have any questions about the first part?
Councilor Smith?
A question, unapproved alteration of natural physical conditions, would that include filling a trunk with concrete?
Yes, it would.
Thank you.
Somebody did that? Oh, yeah. What? It was a sacred. Oh, I had never heard of that. Wow.
Arboriculture has come a long way over the past few years. No? Move on. This is the part with the props. So right now, under current tree code, removal of all private trees greater than 6½ feet circumference at breast height, which is 25 inches at diameter, are protected and require a permit for removal. I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, you got help.
That's nice.
My bosses.
Don't throw your back out.
So the first, I'll
That's a heavy
show
one.
Rick's first here. 6.5 feet in circumference. Show the camera too.
Wow.
So just kind of use your imagination. That's a tree, big tall tree.
It's still not showing up. If you want to maybe step back and see where what we can see on our screen. Maybe bring it up over here. Maybe you're in front of the
Over here.
Yeah, come forward.
All right, cool.
See your inspection.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good right there.
25-inch diameter tree, or 6.5 feet circumference, big tree, currently protected under city code. We love that. Here, Rick, will you take this from me? Yep. I didn't think this through that much. So what I'm asking is to protect more private trees, basically, by moving that 6.5 foot diameter, or 6.5 foot circumference, down to 5 1/4 circumference, which is 20 inches in diameter, and that's this tree.
So you want these to stay?
Yeah, I want to protect that tree, but I also want to protect this tree. Right now, you can cut down that tree. Without a permit. Yeah. Thanks.
No way, we're happy to help.
So yeah, this change will increase the number of protected trees in Albany. In order to remove it, it'll have to be a hazard or causing some sort of damage or causing a crazy allergic reaction or any of the other reasons that we allow removal. So yeah. Any questions for me?
Council?
I had a question, but you answered it, so we're good.
Great.
Council, we're okay with this? See you on the 12th.
Thanks.
The 12th is going to be busy, y'all. I didn't pick you. Next on tonight's agenda is item 9, business from the council. I will start with Councilor McGee.
Last week, the mayor and I attended the Helping Hands fundraiser. It was really nice. Got a chance to meet more people in the community, and it was held at Hope Church. So we enjoyed. Only thing is that everyone kept mistaking me as the mayor's wife all up and through the place. And then they were like, we was like, no, we're just colleagues. So that was the big thing. But yeah, we had a great time. Glad I went.
And no, I don't braid her hair.
Oh yeah, somebody asked me if you braid my hair. It was a little, it was uncomfortable a little bit, but it's fine.
Councilor Kopczynski.
Can't hear you.
Had a fabulous time out at the big pickup with Councilor Smith and the normal city staff that are out there. Had some pretty good crowds out there and some couple of lull spots. And I'll be interested to see if Councilor Smith can report approximately how much money was returned. So I'm done.
So Councilor Newton.
I have two things. One, I attended the middle housing community discussion. Was great to watch staff in action. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, just to everyone's attention, I've already informed Director Ledane about this, but I had a constituent reach out to me about the dog park over at Timberland. And if you guys are familiar, there's the gated area, and then there's also the off-leash dog area that's around by the pond. My constituent is requesting that we add additional signage in regards to anglers. She's had some anglers yell at her because her dogs are in the permitted off-leash dog area. Another person she spoke with had to take their dog to a vet because the anglers were leaving their fish hooks and they got a fish hook caught in their dog's paw. And another person who was using the dog park area, their dog got sick because anglers were leaving fishing trails. And their dog, of course, went and got it. So they're requesting that I know we already do have a sign that says this is an off-leash dog area. But maybe if we are able to direct and let people know, hey, if you're an angler, this is the off-leash dog area. Please don't use this area unless you're I don't know, making sure you're picking up all your hooks, not leaving bait out where dogs could get to it, and also understanding that this is an area where you're going to need to coexist with dogs that are off leash. So that was something just wanted to bring to everyone's attention.
It's rough.
I know, rough.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're so welcome.
Counselor Smith.
Counselor Smith has a list. First, while Jay is still here, I wanted to thank him for doing a little extra work to take care of some troublesome cottonwoods over by the creek that runs into Cox Creek. Well, it's Cox Creek, I imagine it is, between Costco and Napa. A couple of them fell down during a storm not long ago, took out a neighbor's tree and cut power to a lot of Ward 3 for a long time. And they remain, cottonwoods are bad trees. Jay has been over to inspect them a couple of times. He's worked with the folks at Napa to get some other ones removed and to potentially eliminate future problems, at least in that area. And he did this at great personal peril. There's poison oak there, but he did not suffer, so that's good news. My other thing was I wanted to, I cannot answer Councilor Kopczynski's question about the money from the big pickup because I left the envelope in Chris's pickup without counting it, but there was a lot because this was one of the busiest big pickups we've had in years. We filled 8 dumpsters. Could have filled 9 if our folks hadn't been so efficient at cramming stuff in there with the equipment. We also took in approximately 430 tires. That is our great gift to the community. Taking those tires for $2 to $4 to $15 a piece. It's a big deal if you've ever tried to get rid of an old tire. So we did that with 2 volunteers and a crew of city staff. We had, I don't know if everybody else had volunteering gigs to do on Saturday, but we had only 2. Our veteran volunteer coordinator who didn't get calls back when she had hoped to, Eileen Wynn, and Jeff Douglas, who's the owner of Sign Express, were our citizen volunteers. Our staff, who gave it their all, included Brett Johnson, Ron Humphreys, Chris Moulton, Mike Graber, Alex Kojan, Heather Slocum from Public Works, Edgar Guizer from Parks Maintenance, and of course, Chris Shandell from Police. Yes, thank you, everyone. Mayor Johnson was there greeting folks. Councilor Kopczynski and I were directing traffic and collecting fees. I look forward to this every year. It's hard work, and our staff worked so hard by themselves at the last minute without much volunteer help, and they just really deserve your support and your thanks. So I'm done.
You're done? Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Counselor Montague?
I also attended the community conversations and do want to appreciate staff for fielding questions and comments. And I thought that was it was a really good turnout and just appreciation for some of you who had to stand in the fire for that. Also, appreciations for those who don't know, my dad worked for the city for 15 years and he retired on Friday. So just heartfelt appreciation to city for treating my dad so well. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to cheer up.
Thank you. Counselor Novak?
Thank you. I want to thank the chief of police and our city manager for providing information to all of us this week regarding when certain speeding incidents took place. It was in July of 2023. Everyone received that information, I think, this past week. I was very happy for it because I wanted to know when they clocked someone going 124 miles an hour down North Albany Road, and I didn't think it was during school hours, and clearly it was not. It was during July of last year, 1 week during July, and they monitored 24/7, which I also found very helpful and worthwhile. Because I do drive that road daily, and I've made a point of telling you all that, I wanted to bring this up so that if there are any individuals in the public who have heard the discussions, they will likewise now have the information that we've all been presented, which is this took place in July of last year, and I have no doubt that people who do speed will do so every summer. But I'm telling you, during school hours, you cannot go 120 miles an hour. I'm glad to say this, you can't, you really are forced by the amount of traffic that we have there during those hours to go lots slower, and that's good. So there is a sense in which lives are not at risk. Your life is at risk every morning when you get out of bed. So I am for safety measures. I'm just very happy to be able to share the information with the public at large that this tracking took place in the summertime. And I'm glad for the steps that we're taking, and I'm glad to have that information available and on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's comments and thoughts. I had a great luncheon with the Optimist Youth Appreciation Award winners, 16 young people from freshman to high school senior. I met with them at South Paws Pizza, had a great quasi-town hall, and got a lot of information that they want for their city in the future. And they start their lives and go away and then come back. And the young people had a lot of thought. They put a lot of thought into the things they were sharing with me. And I probably took 40 selfies, and it was a great time hanging out with those young people. And the parents dropped them off. We had meal, we talked, we had probably 2 hours worth of conversation about the city of Albany. And so the young people are paying attention. They see what's going on, and they know what they want for the future of the city. So I really appreciated that. The big pickup was fantastic. All I was just meeting and greeting folks. But there's a lot of people in the community that brought their tires and their yard clippings and stuff like that. And it was, when I left for the meeting with the kids, there was no one in line. And then Councilor Smith sent me a picture. There must have been 15 cars lined up back there. So it was fantastic. And I had a meeting, I had a meeting with Lisa Avery, Dr. Avery from LBCC, and she introduced, I did a welcome to the community college presidents from all over the state. It was really nice to have Shelley Bolshot-Davis there, and also Senator Sarah Gelser-Blow in there. So it was really nice to connect with other community college presidents, and it was really nice to hear the things they had to say about the programs that are at LBCC. So I was really happy to hear that. And all of them are happy that you're on the city council, so it was really nice to see that. And then Sean told me today that our West Albany Bulldogs girls softball team has a playoff game tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. And after refereeing high school fast pitch softball for 15 years, I will not miss it. I'm excited about it, and I think it's going to be a great game tomorrow, and I hope they beat Eagle Point and go on to the next round.
It's a softball game, and
It's West Albany High School.
what time, do you know?
5 p.m. And so bring a lawn chair and then cheer on our young ladies and get them on to the next round of playoffs. And then with that, I will turn it over to our city manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just one comment. Councilor Smith's comments and all of yours about the big pickup and the volunteers that supported the big pickup took me back to Chris Schindell's presentation about SEPTED and the importance of volunteers in helping to create what he called in his presentation, pride of place. So Adopt a Park has volunteers, Giving a Hoot has volunteers. There are so many opportunities to volunteer to help our community look better, to keep it looking clean and looking like a place that people want to come and visit and live. So I wanted to thank volunteers that do that and also endorse that as a way to give back to your community. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting. I will see you Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. for a city council meeting.